Hello, welcome back to the Influence Mastery Summit. My name is Michael Teo and I will be your host. And today I'm excited because I'm meeting a friend who have known me for over a decade right now, and he is now helming Malaysia's largest media company and also group in advertising, in creative. So I'm very excited for him, but more so, I decided to get him involved with the Influence Mastery Summit because he came from a very different, a unique background from advertising, creative. He has been a CEO from Japan to Taiwan to Malaysia, decades of golden experience leading organization, and most importantly, working with the world's largest brands like Emirates, Hyundai, Kia, Nike, Uniqlo, you name it, sharing their creative messages. And I thought as part of the Influence Mastery Summit, we are aimed to give you the tools for you to succeed in becoming more charismatic, more confident, and to boost your career's success. So I thought, what better way to introduce you to Mr. Andreas Vogiatzakis, the Group CEO of the Star Media Group. Thank you again, sir, for coming, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
You've worked with the world's biggest brands in your previous leadership, with the world's largest advertising company as well, from Omnicom to even Harvest Media Group right here in Malaysia. So you've seen it all, you've done it all.
Sorry.
My first question to you, I'd like to ask, you have seen all these creative campaigns. How do you create a persuasive message? How do you create a persuasive campaign that touches people's hearts or people's emotions? Because that's what you're good at, Andreas. If you could share with us.
Gladly. First and foremost, thank you for having me. Yes, we know each other for more than a decade.
There you go.
And I believe that we both watched the world changing.
Yes.
Changing in terms of technology, in terms of new products. We saw the economy going up and down and taking twists and turns globally and regionally and locally.
That's right.
And with technology basically liberating humanity and making it in most of the ways a better place, it also brought challenges which we are living through at the moment as an industry and trying to innovate and change it. Now I say this because while all of that is changing, some things don't. And one of the things that doesn't change is exactly what you said. How do we persuade people? How do we communicate a message in a creative way that can touch their hearts and their minds?
That's right.
And of course, I've been in advertising all my life, right?
Yeah.
And I've been dealing with brands, big brands, global brands, local brands.
That's right.
Just about everywhere, from the States to Greece to Asia. And yet, if you strip that onion of all its layers, at the heart of it, fundamentally, it is purpose and it is meaningfulness. So
interesting.
Yes. So when we talk about a campaign and about a message, we can dress it up all we want, and that's very important.
Right.
But fundamentally, what is the core proposition? What is the heart of what we are offering?
Interesting.
So, depending, of course, on what product it is, does it change people's lives? Does it affect them in a positive way? Does it solve their problem? Does it give them something that they desire or they need, perhaps? And we can have endless examples, from education to FMCG products to automotive and so on and so forth. So what kind of a purpose does the brand fulfill? And it all really is around that. Right. Then we can dress it up, then we can make it better, then we can make it sexier, more exciting and all that. But fundamentally, at its core, is what purpose do we have?
Amazing.
And that applies to everything. It applies to brands, it applies to companies, it applies to people, it applies to societies, it applies to everyone.
I was going to say that because a lot of people who is joining us for the Influence Mastery Summit, they're entrepreneurs, SME owners, corporate people, and most of the time, because they're part of this online summit, they're looking to take the leap of faith, they're looking to elevate their game. So when I'm speaking to you, you have decades of experience all around the world, like you mentioned, from the United States, Greece, part of Asia, Japan, Taiwan, and right here in Malaysia, you have worked with the world's largest brands. You would have seen the way how to communicate a persuasive message. And the one thing I really liked, Andreas, what you just mentioned is about the purpose. So even as human beings, if we were to try to get ourselves promoted, try to get ourselves being given or entrusted with a new portfolio by our boss, we need to communicate our purpose.
Right.
Would you say so? Like our purpose to serve the company, the purpose why we could be a positive force for change in the organization for us to lead it, you know. Talking about positive force of change, talking about pushing the purpose of us being an executive entrepreneur, basically, I would say pleasing our stakeholders, right? Can you share with us, you are one of the most influential CEOs right now in Malaysia, because a wise mentor once shared with me, say, those who control the media could control a lot of things. I'm not sure you agree with it or not, but you are in a you are in a very special position right now, Andreas, and I'm very happy for you. But please share with us, do you have a daily routine that you do that perhaps got you noticed by the largest media group, media conglomerate here in Malaysia and across the region, the Star Media Group, and they have just appointed you as their group CEO, but you have been consistently become CEOs no matter where you go. So I'm sure daily you would have a routine that have actually helped you polish your leadership skills or helped you present your purpose in serving others. What are your thoughts about that, Andreas?
I don't know how much time we have.
Please enlighten us.
It's actually very simple. First and foremost, I am blessed and grateful that the Star Media Group vested that task to me and trusted me to lead the teams.
That's right.
The Star Media Group is an amazing force. That still hasn't showed the world the full capability of what we can do, and I think it's also a position that I take with a lot of care and a lot of sense of responsibility. Responsibility not only to our clients in terms of advertisers, in terms of agencies, in terms of that constituency, but also and most importantly, of our readers, and this society as a whole. In fact, part of our plans are to influence and expand into Asia, which we have started already.
Very nice.
But particularly in the digital stratosphere. So with Dim Sum, for example, we now are building partnerships around the ASEAN countries and eventually fully in Asia. And that responsibility, I believe, is extremely critical.
Amazing.
When you have the power or the ability or whatever you want to call it, where you can influence or, in your words, to persuade people to do something, that comes with a lot of responsibility.
Right.
And we have to have the wisdom and the strength to use that power wisely and for the right causes and to the right reasons.
Right.
When you have an institution that shapes society, that shapes culture,
that shapes public opinion,
that's a very serious matter. So,
it is.
Exactly. So that's why I say I'm honored and humbled by that, by being able to be in this position. So a lot of great things are coming, but back to your point about my routine.
Yeah, you have been CEOs everywhere you go, working with the world's largest brands, and now you're working with Malaysia's largest media company. How did you get there? You mentioned responsibility. I'm pretty sure you are a very responsible person, you serve the people, but what is your daily routine like? If someone wants to be the next Andreas Vogiatzakis, what must they do on the daily routine?
You're making it sound and look much bigger than what it is, actually.
You're very humble.
I'm a big procrastinator sometimes, and then I kick myself to get up and do it now. Yeah. It's not that complicated, and the truth of the matter is that I never really sat down to outline a career trajectory that would take me to a certain point and then try to achieve and reach that. It was rather different. Of course, I grew up as a kampong boy. I grew up in a small village in the heart of Crete.
Wow.
Many years ago. And life was very different back then. And then you grow up, technology changes everything. It brings about change. But back then, life was different, and it taught us values that stayed with me for my entire life. And it also built in my heart a desire to do better.
Right.
Better for me, better for society, better for others, and contribute. And that became really a guiding principle. So when I finished college, my purpose was to learn, to make sure that I add value to the company and the team that I work with, and learn and advance myself.
Okay.
At that time, I don't think my image for 30 years later was to be a CEO in a country in Asia. It was not like that. That happened. It was very simple, driven by the eagerness to do good, to succeed, to learn from what happens around you, be a team player, have a positive and can-do attitude. There were a lot of complainers all around. That's everywhere in every culture, and it's partially human nature. I didn't like that. If I would have a suggestion to make, then I would. A complaint to make, then I would also make a suggestion of how to make it better, for example.
Oh, nice. Right.
So if you look at my daily routine or what I do, I always want to think of myself as a catalyst. So if you are in a meeting, if you're in any situation, you are there for a reason. You have to have a purpose. What value do I add to that meeting? What value do I add to the company that I belong to? What value do I add to my friends, to my family, to society in general? What is my purpose to be here and to do what I do? And fundamentally, that was driving me all along. What is my purpose in life? I believe that when you are at the earlier stages of your life and your career, you don't think too much about that. I believe that becomes more important as you grow and as you go through good and bad experiences. In the end, they're all good because they teach you something, right?
That's right.
Depends on how you see it.
That's right.
However, looking back in hindsight, I can see that purpose was there.
Yes.
And it was an unconscious quest to be good, to do good, to contribute, to add value. And if you add value, you become more meaningful.
Powerful. Yes.
Right? And that becoming meaningful drives your success. And I fundamentally believe on that. It's okay if you have a very clear goal. I'm going to be the CEO of that industry or that company or me. That's perfect. That's perfectly okay. In fact, I see some people, and in fact, many young people be exactly like that, which is wonderful. However, in order to achieve that, fundamentally, you have to add value.
Right.
If you don't add value to whatever you do, in whatever you do, to whom you belong to what team you belong to what company,
that's right.
Then how that can come about? You have to stay humble, and you have to make sure that you learn. You make sure that you are open to feedback and suggestions. Nobody's perfect.
Yes.
So if you fail fast if you can, and learn from it and try to make it better. We live in a dynamic, changing world, right?
That's right.
In a world where if we don't adapt, learn, and relearn, unlearn and relearn, like Toffler said, we won't survive. So how do we become better? In my opinion, looking back really, because I didn't plan it this way, it was not a master plan that I followed. It was all about adding value. I never shied away from a challenge.
Right.
Sometimes my modus operandi was to just dive in first and then swim. Don't test the water. And I guess also life has pushed me to do exactly that. Sometimes they don't tell you the full story before you start something. Then you get in and then you realize, ooh, if I knew back then what I know now, maybe I would have done it differently. So sometimes it's better to dive in first and then you learn how to swim. However, as long as you have purpose and you're very clear of why you're here for, then you will succeed. Because if you do that and if you are fully aware of that, you will have purpose, you will add value. And that self-awareness to me is very important. So self-awareness, having purpose and being eager to add value is one element. Being self-aware is another. So you know your space in the universe, you know your space and where you stand in a company. You keep on mentioning CEO. To me, CEO is nothing. What is CEO? It's just a title designation. To me, everybody in the company, in every company, has a task to do, and it has to do it in unison. It has to do it in synchronicity. It has to be together. And it doesn't mean anything more important than what the task of the person who cleans the floor is.
Right.
And if you don't see it like that, then I believe you will not win the battle in the future, and you will not be able to become that conductor that will have a beautiful orchestra. In fact, I love that analogy because somebody somewhere said that the only person in the orchestra that doesn't play an instrument or does a sound is the conductor, and yet without that person, the orchestra cannot perform,
nice.
isn't
Yes,
it?
that's right.
So
that's right.
You have to be like that. You have to be self-aware of what your place and responsibility is, what your purpose is, and then you will do good. And I believe that these things were part of my subconscious and conscious eventually in my life journey. I never took anything for granted. In fact, nothing you can take for granted. And that grounds you and makes you a little bit more humble. When you look around, things happen.
Yeah.
Good things and bad things. And so if you think you're here now, you might not be here tomorrow.
That's right.
So what goodness do you add to the world? What goodness do you add to your company, your teammates, the people you interact with? From what you say to what you do to how you conduct yourself. And that permeates, in my belief, ethnicity, it permeates borders, it permeates politics and religion.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, at the end of the day, we're all the same.
That's right.
We all want the same thing. It's human nature. We want to do good and better. We want to build a better future and a better situation for our friends and families.
Yeah.
So it's that purpose that really drives me. And so talking about routine and habits and what makes you a successful CEO and a successful manager, what makes you a successful human being? What is it?
Powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andreas. Andreas, one of the things that I picked up is you mentioned that it's rooted in your conscious and subconscious, a team player, doing good, serving your purpose in the team. And then when Lady Luck strikes, you may become CEO, but there's more to that. One word that you mentioned, which I want to share with all the learners right now, you mentioned catalyst.
Yes.
And that's my biggest takeaway so far. I know you have a lot of golden nuggets, but when you sit in a meeting, you could decide either to be someone who's all quiet or you could be a catalyst to trigger new ideas, new discussions, and most importantly, always be serving the people, always be living with purpose. And I really like how you explain your daily routine because it's really rooted in your subconscious and conscious. I mean, you are serving the people, you are leading Malaysia's largest media company right now. You can affect public opinion. But as you mentioned, it comes with a huge responsibility. Again, thank you, Andreas. Andreas, we have two more questions, but my second question to you, all right, here we go. My second question to you is related towards charisma. Now, I know that very soon, actually tomorrow, you will be going on a unity walk with His Royal Highness, the King of Malaysia, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, together with all VVIPs, in the country, congratulations for that. What an honor, what a privilege. At the same time, for you to have that stature, to be rubbing shoulders with all these people, I would like to now ask you a question. When it comes to leadership in itself has charisma, in a sense where some people follow leaders because they have charisma, they have a story to tell, and you have been CEOs all across the world, and you're now CEO right here in the Star Media Group. I would like to ask your opinion. So this is the second question, but it may have like two parts to it. The first part is, what is charisma to you?
Yeah.
And number two, if you could share with us, from your experience, systematically, if there is a structure, how does someone build their charisma, whether it be in organization, in society? Mm-hmm. So number one is, what is charisma to you? And number two, how do you systematically build charisma?
Yeah. I'll try to answer them to the best of what my experiences are. There is no manual for these things. They'll come from the heart. But before that, I'd like to go back to your first point about the work tomorrow. It is about the people of Malaysia.
That's right.
It is about being one. It is about going beyond our color, beyond our religion, beyond our everything. And it talks about unity and about building a better future together. The hashtag is Better Me, Better Malaysia, which I believe fundamentally, as this place has become my home for so many years and close to my heart.
That's
Secondly, it's not me who is standing up there rubbing shoulders. It's the entire group.
Powerful.
If we could bring every single one on stage, we would. So humbly, I represent everybody. So it's not me. It just happened to be the person who represents a brilliant team, a team of more than 1,200 people that every day make miracles and try and strive to make our world a better place to be.
Nice.
So it's an honor to stand that and represent everyone. So it's just the protocol how it is, but in my heart it means something different. And
yes.
Of course I'm humbled to be there.
That's right.
And it'll be an amazing day.
It will.
And I know you'll be there too. So
thank you.
We'll do it. We'll do it together.
We'll do it together.
Back to your questions about charisma and how do you get to have charisma.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is that some things might be part of your DNA, part of your construction, part of how the universe decided to make you, right? And just like a skill, some can write well, some can draw well, some can do other things well. However, many things can be taught, and I believe that a lot of things can be taught. Charisma, what is charisma? I believe that charisma can be that ability to bring outcomes that solve problems, that add value, that add meaning to whoever needs them. And if you are a person who has the ability to do that, then you are charismatic.
Right.
Who is a charismatic leader, right? And we talk about country leaders, for example.
Right.
People who are able to bring about positive change, people who, like you said, become catalysts on transforming societies, transforming the world, bring about values that are important to us as people and society.
Yes.
So it goes back to the outcome. It goes back to what you can really achieve.
Right.
How are you able to motivate?
Yes.
How are you able to make teams and people look at the same direction,
Right.
And serve a collective purpose?
That's right.
And that can be exemplified in many different ways. How you talk to people, how you conduct yourself, how you take different decisions about you, about your team, about your company, about your country, the values that you hold dear to your heart. And it has absolutely nothing to do with the external factors. So I can be dressed up flamboyantly.
Yes.
Is that charisma? No. Is that how you built it? No. These could be cherries on top, but the fundamental, in my opinion, and I never really thought about it, it just comes from
the heart.
It comes from the heart.
Yeah.
If I am to be a charismatic leader,
Yes.
then first and foremost, I should be able, in order to be that, to bring about significant and purposeful change.
Right.
Change that will take my teams and my company to a higher level.
Right.
Change that will contribute to our constituency and our society.
Right.
And it will make this place a better place to be. And it will make our world a better place to live. If I manage to do that, then I would be a charismatic leader, isn't
Amazing.
it? Otherwise, I would just be pretty much relying on rhetoric only, and I would be just a great speaker.
Yeah.
So that, and the way you conduct yourself, the way you interact with people, the way you express what is in your mind and in your heart, the way you can outline and structure and execute your plans and your ideas would make you a charismatic person. And that applies to everybody. And that applies to everybody, not only your leaders, because leadership is one of my favorite areas. I love that because everybody talks about it, everybody has a definition about it.
Yes.
And charisma is sort of part of that recipe, right, in order to be a good leader. But what is it really? And is that bestowed only on certain individuals who are tasked to lead an organization? I believe not. I believe that's rubbish. I believe that leadership, charisma applies to absolutely everyone, isn't it?
Yes.
Everybody in their own skin and in the work that they do should be leaders and
That's right.
should be charismatic.
That's right.
What good would it make if I am, but my teams are not,
Yes.
on the way they interact first and foremost internally? So it applies to everyone. And
Right.
not one individual can bring change. It has to be all together. It's actually exactly like the orchestra. Right?
Yes, yes, the conductor,
And
inspiring.
if, exactly. And if the orchestra is not in sync,
That's right.
if synchronicity is not there, it won't happen. So charisma, again, it is about being able to be purposeful and add value. And I keep repeating that because to me is fundamentally the core of everything. Anyone who adds value and purpose is charismatic.
Amazing.
And I'm sure that if anyone is keen to add value and make his or her team, company, world, society a better place to be, is charismatic and will find a way to be charismatic. Being charismatic is just the outcome of what's inside, I think. And I don't know if there would be any other way really to describe or explain it.
Thank you.
If we try, then we will probably just go to the Oxford Dictionary and look for a definition
Of charisma. Yeah.
of charisma. That's right.
Andreas, I wish to share something before we proceed to our last question. And again, thank you for your time. Just to share with you all learners, I know when we talk about the topic of charisma, a lot of the learners, rather, a lot of them are millennials, Gen Ys, Gen Zs. They're hoping, they're planning, they have aspirations to serve their company, serve society better. That's why they're part of the Influence Mastery Summit. They want to think big and they want to know how to do big, right? And sometimes, a lot of time people think charisma is such a huge word, it's reserved only for the CEOs when you hit your 40s and 50s.
No.
Let me share something with you,
Yeah.
Andreas. And this thing actually came from you when you said charisma comes from within. Just before this masterclass started, Andreas got visited by one of his staff. And just to share with you all, Andreas has an office just above us, and there's a very nice stairway that connects him to our interview, our masterclass session right here. I was very touched when the staff after speaking to Andreas, tried to leave through the door, which we have shut it because we want to give you the best experience so there's no interruption. But I was so touched when the staff offered. He said, Andreas, it's fine. I'll just go back up and I'll use the other exit. But Andreas himself went to the door and he tried to unlock it. Like he was literally trying to unlock it. He was trying his pass. That tells me a lot about you when it comes to charisma, sir. Really, because he's just a normal staff. He's just here to inform you what meetings you have with some of the VVIPs in the country. But then you basically went to the door and you actually told him, you said, no, don't go upstairs. I mean, it's not really a long flight of stairs anyway, if you guys could see it. But really, it's the intention. Yeah. You didn't want to trouble him at all. Even for a short walk, you attempted to open the door for him. Yeah. And I thought, when you said charisma comes from within, serving others, serving with purpose, you know your purpose here. You know, you want to serve the people here so that the people here could serve Malaysia better. Yes. There you go.
It's well, interesting that you say this, but you know what? If it wouldn't be for every single person in this organization, I have no reason to be here.
Right.
Isn't it?
That's true.
And if I'm not grounded enough to be very well aware of that, then what on earth am I doing here?
Yeah.
And I believe that, and this doesn't apply to this organization, it applies to everything.
Yeah.
Of course, many things are our choice. Mm-hmm. By saying all this, I do not mean in any way that we should only be humble in everything. The world can be tough and unfair in many ways. So you need to be smart. You need to get your facts right. You need to be educated, and you need to do what you need to do.
That's right.
And many times you need to drive yourself and what you need to execute with, I'll say, force. But what I mean is really by a commitment to do what you have to do. While doing that, there are many ways to execute. Right? And there are many ways to arrive exactly at the same outcome. Mm-hmm. We see leaders around the world having different styles. So we see countries doing good or better.
That's right.
And I think you get my point. We need to stay grounded. We need to understand what our purpose is in the universe.
Right.
And then we need to do what we need to do. You talked about young people, millennials, and you talked about many of them having the drive to go higher and do good. Yeah. You now progressed in your life, and 10, 11, 13 years ago when we first met, it was slightly different. And I will never forget in one of the meetings that it was a conference, and you were in a VIP speaker, meeting room, and I will never forget the way you were conducting yourself.
Oh, thank you.
And I don't say this to really praise you, even though you deserve all the praise of the world, coming from there to what Thriving Talents is doing now. But you were politely and self-aware aggressive. meaning if you are not proactive to do certain things, which you did, and you came, you shook my hand, you introduced yourself, I'm Michael and this is what I do, and you create a great impression. If you are not proactive to do that, you know something, the world is not going to come to you and say, hey, Michael, you're okay, do you need anything, do you want me to?
No.
Nobody's going to do that.
That's right.
You have to do it for yourself.
That's right.
So yes, you need to stay humble.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's about not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less times. Put others first. However, you need to drive yourself.
That's right.
You need to be proactive.
That's right.
You need to go and get what you need to get and what you want to get.
That's right.
Having the purpose of what you're doing in mind, and being self-aware of how you conduct yourself, how you interact with others, is key. But you need to go and you need to do what you need to do.
You need to create opportunities.
And I see young people all the time. I love working with universities, and I love contributing to what they have to offer. And I see a lot of young people wanting to do good and be CEOs before they are 30, which is great. That's a fantastic ambition.
Yeah.
And I always ask them, what does that mean? How do you define success?
Yeah.
Is a title defining success? Or is it your life journey that you're going to learn and contribute and affect others? In fact, when we go through our journeys in life, we affect everything, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Everybody that interacts with us will get something, good, bad. And I'm not saying you have to be good with everything and everybody to the point that you might be a sucker sometimes. No, you have to stand your ground because you know what is right, you know what you want, you know how you want to lead your team to achieve it.
That's right.
And in everything, every team and every organization, you're going to have the ones who agree and the ones who don't agree. And if you agree with the ones who don't agree, that's fine, so you can bring them on board. But sometimes you have to do what you have to do.
Powerful.
All I'm saying is that you have to keep that purpose that you have in your heart. And even though sometimes you don't know exactly what the path will be and how it will take you, having that fundamental belief of giving back and adding value will drive you. And when you come at the crossroads, it's going to become your guiding light. And the critical question that will bring you the answers. So when I'm there, how do I add value? How do I contribute?
That's right.
How do I make it better?
That's right.
For my team?
That's right.
Then it will become better for me.
That's right.
And so I always say we live, including me, and sometimes I know it's difficult to do, we leave the ego behind, outside the door, and then we get in and have meeting.
That's
and many times, I'm sure you have with your team, because you lead a young team tasked with an amazing purpose and big. So I'm pretty sure you have arguments, you have disagreements, you have differences of opinion.
Oh yes.
And I'm pretty sure because you are the owner and the leader and the one who brought it all together and conceptualized this, I'm pretty sure you have your own thoughts.
Yes.
Now, how do you conduct yourself? I am your boss, and therefore
it's we. I conduct myself.
And sometimes you might be wrong. Yeah. Why would by default you be always right? Yeah. And taking that back to the younger people, I have only one thing to say, which I never forget, and the late Jeff Lee, the first Malaysian MD of Panasonic here many years ago, told me, and I never forgot that. He said, "Wow, everywhere I go, I take my PDA with me." And I love that. I said, "Jeff, what's your PDA?" Yeah. So I thought he loved his acronyms. So now let me see what he's going to say about that. He said, passion, discipline, and action.
Oh, nice.
And I found it very interesting because there is a reason that he put these words there. Passion and action are the easy ones. So we're all passionate about something. Action is fairly easy to take. The tough part is the discipline.
Oh, yes.
And in all my journey, my life journey so far, dealing with younger people, including me, because I've done my bloopers 1,000,000 times, I can tell you that. That's going to be another conversation.
Yeah.
We get passionate with things and we take action, but without discipline, we will not really achieve great results. So I see a ball of fire. I said that to one of my team members a long time ago, a ball of fire. And I said, what do you do with this? Either you will put the discipline into it and you're going to make it a bright star to guide everything, you and others, or you're just going to action it and just going to let it loose and it will burn things along its way. I said, which one do you want? Without discipline, it'll be the second. With discipline, it'll be the first.
That's right.
Which sometimes is really, really, really tough to do. And I guess the older we get, the more aware we become of what all this means, and we put that discipline into the picture. So the PDA is very, very important to remember when we think about our self-awareness, about our purpose in life and our purpose in what we do in our company and our team every day. And I think that if we do, we'll be very charismatic. So it doesn't come by chance. It just has to be built up like that, I believe.
Thank you, Andreas. Andreas, you have been talking about fundamentals. You have been talking about what really matters to form character. So now this leads us very nicely to our final question. We have talked about career. We have talked about charisma. Now let's go back to where it all started. Let's talk about confidence, because you have pitched works to some of the world's largest brands: Nike, Uniqlo, Emirates, Hyundai, Kia, Ben & Jerry's. Amazing work. You have done work all across the world, US to Greece to Asia. How did you develop your confidence? In two ways. Number one, how did you develop your confidence to lead people because of your many CEO position? And I know that it's not about the position, it's about the purpose.
Yep.
Number one. And number two, how do you develop your confidence to pitch to all these big clients that they actually bought your idea?
Yeah. Many thoughts on confidence. I don't think any of us is born with, boom, that skill or gift to be confident. In fact, I wasn't. In fact, when I was growing up, it was not like that. I guess whatever happens, in your life becomes a catalyst again to galvanize you into a person that you are, and sometimes luck where you meet people that affect you in a positive way. Confidence is something that is built, and it needs training. It needs a lot of effort and self-awareness. It needs a lot of hard work.
Right.
And it also needs baby steps. Some people are more prone to be confident than others, right? But once you achieve small goals one by one, and you see the outcome, and you see the reaction of others, and you see that it's bringing results, and it's making a positive change, and it achieves what you designed it to achieve, then that starts building up. So it's not something that, boom, you wake up and you're confident. You just build up on it.
Right.
And while there are many, I presume, trainings and all of that, I didn't really take any of that. It was just, I knew I had to do better. I knew I wanted to do better. I knew I wanted not to be in the farm, which now actually I wish I could go back. But that's another story. That's how ironic sometimes the life circle is.
Yeah.
And I strive for it. And you have to put your head down, your bum up, and do the work, and be patient, diligent, and put discipline into it. So look at the young people, many young people. When you don't put that into the equation, generally speaking, they come across very confident.
Yes.
However, they need that humbleness that they will put them back a little bit and make them succeed even more. I know that can be very controversial, especially from some very, very high achievers, but that's also okay. As long as you're self-aware and you want to add value, then it's absolutely fine. To your point about being persuasive and learning, looking back, and I didn't have a plan, but looking back, maybe somebody was watching after me from above, I don't know.
There you go, yes.
But looking back, I was observing my bosses a lot. And I liked them all, including the ugly ones. And I had a few. I did have a few who their style was the yelling style, the dictatorial style, my way or the highway.
Yeah.
And I know what I liked, and I know what I didn't like. And like everybody, as you progress in career and in life, one day you are a member of a team. Some years later, you are the leader of that team.
Yeah.
And that's where really you have the opportunity to decide.
Yes.
To decide what kind of person do I want to be.
Yeah.
Do I want to be like the things that I didn't like, or do I want to be like the things that I liked?
That's right.
Interestingly enough, looking back again, I believe that you built and galvanized that in yourself while you are in the team. You have the option to react to a good boss. You have the option to react to a bad boss in many different ways.
That's right.
It's up to you what you're going to do when your boss is yelling at you.
Yeah.
And what ground are you going to take? And how exactly you're going to let that experience affect you? How that experience will advance you as an individual or not.
Powerful.
Okay, unless somebody literally kills you, then
God forbid.
Okay, God forbid. Then you have a choice.
There you go.
I know I simplify it, and I know there are always exceptions to that rule because we deal with people's sentiments and emotions and all that. I am aware of that. However, I'm talking about the general rule and looking back, what did guide me. And I remember clearly my bad bosses, very clearly. I can close my eyes and can picture each one of them and exactly what they did and what they demanded and how I reacted. I think it was just sitting there in me, guiding me on how to react and what to take out of it. So when it comes to confidence and when it comes to being persuasive and how did I develop that, it was really from observing and trying and failing and doing it differently. And we're lucky because every day we have tons of opportunities to exercise all of these things.
That's right.
Exercise leadership, exercise listening, exercise purpose, exercise glamour, exercise everything. So we just need to be aware of what's happening and try to sort of get out of ourselves, stand there in a little corner and observe us.
That's right. Reflection.
That's exactly.
Right.
And that I believe will give us confidence. That will make us better. To this day, just to divulge something that I think people don't know.
Okay. Wow. Here we go.
And everybody who interacts with me and it's like, oh, you're social, you're this, you're that. Actually, I'm a very shy person. And
I'm shocked.
But then you have a choice. Okay, I enjoy my me time.
Yes.
More than anything. But then you have a choice, right? If my job requires me to be this way and do this, and it's part of my job responsibility. Otherwise, if I'm not and I don't do this, I will not achieve that. I will not execute my responsibilities well.
That's right.
Then choose.
Yeah.
Not everybody is fit and cut for every job. So if I choose to do this, then I better teach myself on how to be and behave like that, isn't it?
That's right.
So it's in us on how to observe ourselves within what we do and within our teams and companies and within our society and decide what we want to be. I believe we're all fundamentally equal to do absolutely everything. And time again, humanity has proven that. From athletes to start with, and to leaders around the world and to people who achieve amazing things. So impossible is nothing. Impossible is I am possible, right?
Powerful. Thank you so much, Andreas, for your time. And really, it's what a wrap for our masterclass right here, because I understand that confidence has always been the fundamental, but I think from the essence of what you just shared with our learners right here, it's all about being proactive, taking action. And one thing I really could resonate with you when you talk about boosting confidence is to fail and then learn from it, reflect, know how your inner self is interacting with the outer greater world, always be self-aware of how you can improve. And again, confidence is a build-up thing. It builds up over time. The more proactive you take measures to get to know someone else. Like you said, you are a shy person, even though I find that hard to believe. He speaks in conferences all around the world. But you had a choice. And that choice was, you want to be a CEO, so you got to be proactive. You got to start behaving like a caring, purposeful CEO, a meaningful CEO, as you mentioned. And then start building your confidence from there. And you have been leading organizations, you've been working with the world's largest brands, and now, congratulations again. You're
Thanks, sir.
leading Malaysia's largest media company.
Thank you.
Andreas, it's
Thank
a
you.
pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, my
Really,
friend.
thank you.
Thank you.
And this
Thanks,
is Michael
everybody.
Teo here from the Influence Mastery Summit. I'm joined by Andreas Vogiatzakis, the Group CEO of the Star Media Group. Stay tuned. We have more interviews and masterclasses by CEOs and entrepreneurs, coaches coming up right up for you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.